people, welcome back to my podcast. I'm your host, Esther Kalenzi, as usual, and today I would like us to talk about keeping our promises. First of all, I would just like to start with a quick definition. A promise is a declaration or assurance that one will do something or that a particular thing will happen. Now, many of us find it easy to make promises, but actually fulfilling them can end up being a bigger hurdle than we expected. Now, we are disappointed in ourselves, but also the recipient of said promise is disappointed. No one is happy. As usual, I would like to start with a quick story. I run a non-profit organization called 40 Days or 40 Smiles Foundation, 4040 for short, and we support children in underserved communities by providing literacy and learning aids. Now, about a year or so after I began, it was a passion project by then, we hadn't yet figured things out. I was invited to receive an award in recognition for my work. It was a big one. It was unexpected. And one of the best things about it was that it wasn't competitive. I didn't sign up anywhere. I didn't have to fill in forms. And for that particular award ceremony, all the other categories had a competition to them. So there's like 5 names, and then on D-Day, the winner is going to discover in that moment with the rest of the world. However, for mine in particular, it was already predetermined. I was just invited to come, attend, and receive the award. But also, I was supposed to give a speech. So I had lots of sleepless nights, as you can imagine. In fact, I was so anxious that day that as I stood on the podium to speak, I was well covered, but my legs were shaking. So you couldn't see me from the top up. You could see me, but you couldn't tell because I was trying as hard as possible to be eloquent. But things were crazy everywhere else. And what happened is I told our story, and I asked people in the audience to support our work. When all that was done, applause, went back to my seat, finally free, because I no longer had the nerves. Now, after the event, it was an event that was quite well attended and it had lots of dignitaries. After the event, different people reached out to me and said, hey, call me next week, let's talk about your work. Call me, I would like to support you. I would like to make a donation. Some actually made actual pledges, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, and said, as soon as I called them, they would respond and make the donation. So I took business cards, and for the ones that had actually pledged something, I wrote on them. And because it was almost a festive season, I decided that I would let people rest and then start reaching out to them when the new year began in January, and still maybe mid-January after they had settled. And that's when the dance began. I made calls. Sometimes I was connected to the personal assistant. Other times they were just not responded to, or I was told to call the next day, and then the week after that. Sometimes I would actually go to the offices upon invitation and then get there, and I'm told the person didn't show up or didn't even schedule this meeting, like it wasn't penciled in. Would I know if the person was actually in their office? I had no idea. It was quite a frustrating experience because here I was on one hand expecting nothing, 0 expectations, receive your award and go home. But now I have all of these ideas in my head that these donations are going to come in and they're going to make our work so much easier. And I remember being so innocent and naive, not knowing that a lot of these people just were saying it for the sake of saying it and had no intention of actually giving. And after reaching out to over 40 people, I ended up receiving 2 actual donations. And it was quite the eye-opening experience. I believe that the worst promises are the ones that you didn't even ask for. Like you're just seated there minding your business, and then someone comes and then tells you, hey, I can do this thing for you. Suddenly you are relieved because someone is going to help you. And then before you know it, it's not going to happen. Say, for example, your partner is having car trouble and you tell them, oh, I'm going to pick you up, so don't worry about it. Now, it's midnight, they are counting on you, they didn't make up any other plan, and then when they contact you, you say you forgot or you're no longer coming. See how inconvenient that could be? And yet if you had not made the promise in the first place, this person would have figured out how to get out of it. Now it's late and they're starting from scratch, yet it's something that could completely have been avoided. So I would like us to think a bit about why we make promises. What's your motivation in the first place? Are you doing this because you're doing it for someone else, or you're doing it for yourself? For example, there are people who pledge high amounts to a cause in front of an audience. Are you doing it because you want these people to see and hear you, or is it because you actually believe in the cause? Do you have the capacity? We are overwhelmed. Many times we are juggling so many things, and then someone calls you and says, hey, I would like you to be on the board of this company. You say, I can do that. Be on the board for my school, we are looking for parents. You say, I can do that. Hey, I would like you to show up for me, I'm going to be undergoing this surgery, can you come? Yes, I can do that. But in reality, you don't have the time to do that, and that's also okay. And I think one of the things that's most important is to be gracious when situations change. So for example, you make the promise when you have the capacity to do it and you really believe you're able to. If your situation changes, communicate, because at the end of the day, you're leaving someone hanging, and yet they did not plan for anything else. And yet if you communicated in advance, they're going to be able to get a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D, and then they will not have to stress so much because of this promise that was made. Now, because of the experience that I have gone through, I have learned a few things along the way. And there's one important lesson that I learned from my mom. Unknowingly, it started many years ago. What would happen is I would watch her. Someone would come to her office or come to visit at home, and they would have a problem. These problems ranged from health issues, not having tuition for children, maybe having complications in a relationship, anything, you name it. She would listen. Just listen, maybe comfort, give a few words of advice, and then that's it. After she had thought about it for maybe a day or two, or even done some research, she would come up with a solution and then contact the person after never promising to do anything in the first place. And this is something that was an important lesson for me, because she would go and do research, for example, and say, hey, I discovered these 2 doctors and they specialize in your condition. These are the hospitals that they're at from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you reach at 6, you'll be the first in the line and you get to talk to this doctor. You never know, they'll be able to help you. If it's something that requires monetary assistance, if she has the capacity, she says, hey, you said this is what you need. I've been able to get some of this. Here you go. Start from there. And it's something that I've carried with me. And I try. Sometimes it's difficult. I try to catch myself before I say, I will be there. Or I promise I'm going to take care of this. Or worry not, I got you. You know, sometimes it's very easy for us to just throw these words around. But when the time comes, we realize that maybe we couldn't do it. So maybe we can consider taking it all in before making a decision. When you're sad, when you're happy, when you're angry, just take some time, think about it, and think about how you can support someone. Think about how you can celebrate them. It's not always promises that come in bad times. Sometimes it's good times. You're like, yes, we need to celebrate this milestone. and then they sit there waiting for the champagne to be popped, and it's not something that's going to happen. I would like to encourage us to think about it each time we are about to make a promise, because at the end of the day, it affects whichever parties are involved in this in the first place. I would like you to remember to be kind and do good. And if you enjoy this podcast, there are ways in which you can support the work that I do. And I would like to tell you about 3 ways. 1, I run a nonprofit organization called 4040, as I said earlier. And you can follow us on our social media platforms. You can visit our website and support our work, make donations, buy merchandise, volunteer with the skills that you have. All of this goes towards actually ensuring that we can make a difference. 2, my business partner and I run an accessory business online called House of Penda. Have lots of cool stuff like shades and happy socks and specs and wallets. Just check them out, buy one, gift someone else, and this could also support us. And finally, the Phoenix Project. We have a bunch of cute journals and calendars that you can buy for you or your loved ones. Shop via Mahiri Books and get a chance to support the work that we do. So this is me signing out. Talk to you next time. Bye.